You are now listening to the Almighty Dread. Support the vision and mission. It's time for change. It's time to transform Africa. Can you see it? 'Cause I can. Like, share, subscribe, so we can keep doing the great work that we do. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Let's just jump right in, because today we're looking at something that affects every single one of us. Seriously, whether you're a parent, a business leader, or just, a member of society, this matters. We're exploring this really profound concept, how investing in children directly shapes the prosperity of our nations. The source material we're unpacking today lays out this incredibly compelling blueprint. It basically argues that building the foundation for future success isn't just about high-level policy, it's about how we equip the next generation from day one. So, let's get into it. Think about that quote for a second. Children are the future architects of every society. There's a massive scale to that idea, right? The source makes it super clear that the quality of education, the guidance, the opportunities, healthcare, and emotional support they receive right now, well, that will literally determine the strength, stability, and prosperity of our nations tomorrow. Investing in children isn't just some nice, feel-good thing to do. The text positions it as a moral responsibility and honestly, the absolute greatest long-term investment any family, community, or country could ever make. Which naturally leads us to a pretty critical question. Are we actually giving them the right tools to build with? I mean, if they're the architects, what exactly is in their toolkit? The material points out that when kids are given the right tools, the right encouragement, and a proper environment to grow, they don't just survive. They develop the confidence, intelligence, discipline, and creativity they need to become the productive leaders and problem solvers of our future. But getting there, that requires a very specific kind of investment. Now, when we hear the word investment, our brains usually just jump straight to dollar signs. But the source explicitly reminds us that investment absolutely does not mean money alone. It's time, love, wisdom, discipline, moral values, and emotional support. Those are just as crucial. Parents and guardians who actively nurture their children's talents, who put in that kind of time, they're the ones shaping resilient individuals who can actually overcome life's inevitable curveballs. Okay, but that being said, the financial and tangible investments, those are still deeply necessary. We're talking about putting financial investment into avenues like quality education, technology, books, skills training, healthcare, nutrition, and positive mentorship. Those things create opportunities that can literally transform entire generations. Because a child who has access to these specific learning resources is just far, far more likely to develop critical thinking abilities and ultimately hit that goal of economic independence later in life. And look at how fast the world is changing. Preparing kids for the future has never been more urgent. We're living in this wild era of AI, robotics, digital business, and instant global communication. The text highlights that children who are exposed early to innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship are just going to be so much better equipped to actually compete and thrive. Because let's face it, life is essentially a complex game, and it is entirely our duty to teach our children exactly how to play it effectively in the modern era they were born into. And honestly, the stakes could not be higher. If we just ignore child development, we don't just hit a pause button. It actively creates these vicious cycles of poverty, crime, unemployment, and social instability. But Flip that around. When we proactively invest in them, we get stronger economies, much safer communities, and truly progressive nations. The contrast is literally night and day. It's a huge societal choice with incredibly wide-reaching consequences.
Section 1. Empowering through financial literacy.
All right, let's zoom in a bit from that big macro societal view. How do we actually equip them practically? Well, it comes down to building daily habits for wealth creation. Things like saving small amounts regularly, learning basic business principles, understanding assets versus liabilities, and really appreciating the value of hard work. And here's what's so fascinating. When you teach children these concepts at an early stage, it becomes a game to them, and they become incredibly good at it. By teaching them the rules of this financial game early on, you're building a rock-solid mindset for wealth creation. And this right here is why it matters so much. Financial literacy empowers kids to make informed decisions and dodge so many of the economic struggles that end up crushing adults later in life. When kids learn the value of money, the importance of discipline, patience, and smart decision-making when they're young, they aren't just memorizing boring facts. They're growing into financially responsible adults. They carry that early training with them for the rest of their lives. It creates this really clear, logical path to independence. Step 1, early exposure to those foundational concepts, like the actual mechanics of investing and managing investments. That naturally leads to step 2, the development of critical thinking. They start looking at the world and money completely differently. And that ultimately culminates in step 3, lifelong economic independence. It's a step-by-step process that totally transforms a dependent kid into a capable, self-sufficient adult. Section 2, the holistic investment. Now, we've talked a ton about finances and tech, but the source makes a really important pivot here. We absolutely cannot ignore the whole child. Creating a supportive environment builds vital self-esteem and mental resilience. A kid who grows up surrounded by encouragement, kindness, and positive role models, they develop this incredible internal armor. And why does that matter? Because those emotional qualities are exactly what they need to navigate peer pressure and life's difficulties with actual maturity. Think of it this way. Financial literacy is the engine, but emotional resilience, that's the steering wheel. Section 3, the finished masterpiece, the return. So we've looked at the inputs, right? The tangible resources, the financial literacy, the emotional support. Well, what happens when a society actually commits to putting all that in? The societal returns are kind of staggering. Societies that prioritize their kids experience lower crime rates, way better innovation, stronger family structures, and greater national unity. The source reminds us of this really powerful historical truth. Every single great civilization in history inherently understood how profound it was to prepare the next generation. Which brings us to a pretty stark global reality. The future of Africa, and really the entire world, depends massively on how today's children are educated, protected, inspired, and empowered. The stakes are truly global. By investing in children today, we are quite literally investing in a brighter, smarter, healthier, and just far more prosperous future for humanity itself. I want you to really let this quote from the text sink in. Children are not liabilities. They are valuable assets with enormous untapped potential. Man,
What a paradigm shift, right? If you view them as assets, well, you naturally want to protect them. You want to watch their value grow. You want to teach them the principles of investing and how to manage actual investments so they can compound their own potential over time.
So that leaves us with one final, pretty provocative thought. How will you invest in the architects of tomorrow today? Whether it's teaching a kid about an asset, offering some positive mentorship, or just providing a supportive, loving environment, the returns on your investment are going to shape the future of our world. Keep learning, keep investing, and I'll catch you next time.
Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Support the vision and mission. How can see the new Africa? Inspired by the almighty dread. All rights reserved. Thank you.